And we're live. Hey, guys, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey Charlie, the War Game Chat, our monthly show on YouTube. I'm Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me tonight is my co-host, everyone's favorite Gimp with the Limp, Nate Rogers, the Good Gamer. How you doing, Nate?
I'm here. I'm still alive. I can't complain. No, I can't complain. I will complain.
But Kev's not going to be joining us tonight. He is otherwise engaged because he's a jet-setting cool kid. So we're not.
Was that picture him on a plane? The one I saw in that little chat?
Yeah. His family
was that like?
Went down to Cabo.
On what, a Gulf 7 or something?
I don't know what he was on, but it was definitely something that we wouldn't be on. That's for sure. Yeah. We're not on, because we're not jet-setting cool people.
What the hell? Does he think he's like Britney Spears all of a sudden?
I guess so. Why are you covering your ears, Rob? It's awesome music.
Hey, now, for those of y'all who don't know what we're talking about, he was on one of those planes. It's kind of thin, but it has the seats like there along the sides, and you kind of expect the stewardess to come out and like dance around.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
there's Nick.
The Nick, the good Nick. The
Nick.
Yes.
Santa Nick. Saint Nicholas.
Yes, I like Saint Nick. Yep. I sent him a email response earlier today, letting him know I know what his house smells like.
I hope it was a good thing.
No, it was very nostalgic, actually.
Didn't sound didn't smell like kitty litter or anything like that, right?
No, nothing bad. But you know how like you're a kid and you go visit relatives and like you that smell. And I took it to my wife and I was like, smell this box. And she's, of course, going, no. And I was like, no, seriously, it's nothing bad. And she sniffs and she's like, oh, that brings back memories of like visiting relatives when I was a kid.
Smell like gingerbread cookies?
No, nothing like that. Maybe it just smelled like California. The only parts of California I've been to, like the bad ones. Yeah.
Well, what was bad in California that you've been to?
Okay, I was in the Corps. What's bad in California and having to do with the Marines?
San Diego?
No, well, no, I never got to San Diego.
That bad?
29 stumps.
Oh, man. Stumps is just, I don't know. People bitch about that. I loved it there. I love stumps, man.
Hate stumps.
Big playground, man.
No, it is not a big playground. It is a big nothing. There's nothing anywhere.
That's the point. So you could shoot the hell out of stuff and not have to worry about anything. But I mean, that's what I loved about it. It's the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, and I always called it the Marine Corps Playground because you can go out there and do live exercises, do all the combined arms exercises, and see how it would work. And I always had a blast. I always had a good time out there. It's hot, it's miserable, but it's the Corps. That's what the job is. I mean, it's going to be hot and miserable and sandy, but
no, and it's cold.
Have so much fun. Oh, at night
it's cold too.
Yeah, it's desert.
That's what people don't get is you think it's hot all the time, but it's not hot all the time. It's cold. I remember feeling like I was freezing. It had to be like, I don't know, 50, 55 degrees. It wasn't freezing by any means, but
no, but it feels like it after 105 degree, 110 degree day. Yeah.
Exactly. You're in all that. And I remember laying there curled up under my flak jacket, looking at the, battle buddy next to me going, how gay is it to cuddle up next to him for the warmth? You know what I'm saying?
Your battle buddy becomes your cuddle buddy.
Well, I didn't have my, my poncho liner with me, and all I had was my flak jacket, and that was a real fitful night of sleep. And we ended up waking up early because you don't sleep for shit, and just cutting on the Humvee so we could get some type of heat blowing on us to warm us up a little bit. And I remember the sergeant came walking over, and he's, trying to kind of buddy up next to me. And I'm looking at him like, you didn't give me a poncho liner last night. Fuck off, or kiss my butt. You ain't getting shit now.
That's where you just say social distance your ass away from me.
As far as he was talking about Hangar 18. I haven't been getting out a whole lot here recently. I haven't been in the best shape, so hopefully I will be getting out more here soon. I do want to go by there and see what types of Flames of War stuff they might have on hand and bolt action.
Nice. Yeah, and you have you did get a large shipment of stuff. You had some troops, reinforcements arrived, I heard.
Yes. I'm telling you, man, Nick's good people. He's in my good book right there. I was tickled with all that stuff, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I already had Wings of Glory, right? I played that before. I did the solitaire thing, but I did that so early in the channel that I didn't have good lighting. I didn't have good sound, stuff then that I do now. Better camera equipment. So I'm thinking it'd be worth refilming it, especially with all the
Sure.
extra planes that I have now. I think that will play really well. And it's got
Nice.
Stuka dive bombers, a couple of Stukas in there. I was real tickled to see those.
Well, what you do is you get some of the viewers here. You take down some names here and you put them into a pot, like a list, and then you draw from the pot and you assign those as pilots to all the planes.
So no Kevina.
Oh no, you can have us in there, but you got to have the members of the audience as well, so that way they get a little of the action too. They can shoot us down, we could shoot them down, we can have some fun. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's not a bad idea. It's going to be a little bit though, because I got to get some more done for 1985. I've got to get Core Space started here soon. Third World War, and then what is the name of that one that I'm helping you out with?
Assault 41, Assault
Assault
Red
41.
Horizon 41. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Did you get that
leaving
yet?
this. No, I didn't know when it's going to arrive, and I know there's
Should
some
be by
type
tomorrow.
of.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you said there's some kind of time crunch with it, so I left a spot
Well,
open.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I'm going to jump on it like moment
I've
one.
been stuck behind. I've been just so kind of tied up with a bunch of other stuff that takes precedence over that. So unfortunately, I've had to kind of push that. But Kev is off jet setting around the world. He's off hanging out with other people. He says John Sy is going to be there. I don't need to be there tonight. He's cool enough for both of us.
Well,
But
we
no,
don't like Kev
he's
anymore.
got other plans. He already had another commitment, so he couldn't be here tonight. So it's just Nate and I. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different things, like what we've been playing, what we're going to be playing, or what other projects we're working on, things like that. Because I know you got a boot camp project that you're finishing up now, right? Can you talk about that?
Right there. God, I'm so happy to have that thing almost done. Point Blank, which I know they finished
Nice.
the Kickstarter, and I think they're delivering on that in it this summer. If I remember the time frame right.
I think that's what the plan was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be getting to people. I mean, I'm going to have the boot camp series up well before the actual games in people's hands, which is actually going to be a first for me, because usually I finish it a little bit after, because it takes. I'm a one man operation. It takes a while to turn a whole rule book into a video series, but I'm not hating on them. But something that kind of threw me with this rule book is the actions. All right. So to do something, to fire, to move, to shoot, to blow up crap, that's your actions. You play a card to make it happen. But all of that is covered at the end of the rule book. I almost would have liked to have seen that covered earlier, but I can kind of understand it, because there are some concepts that you got to know before you can understand that. So it's kind of hit or miss, because there's a lot of interlocking concepts, and you need to understand all of them to understand how they work together. So there's no real great place to start. But I think the actions probably should have been earlier as far as that goes. But that's what's left. I've got I'm finishing up firing today. I've got movement left, and a couple of small things I can't remember right off the top of my head. But after that, that's going to be complete for the game.
Well, that actually is good to bring that up, because that's one of the things I was going to talk about was rules, because it's been a conversation that a lot of people have been having recently. And Kev and I played Indian Ocean region on Friday night for the first time, and we kind of went through the rule book pretty quickly, both of us, and then we went and played. One of the things that he and I talked about was, and it's not just that rule book. We've seen in other rule books, and you just brought that up too, is about where some of the actions are in a place you wouldn't expect them to be, maybe a little bit further on, or too soon, too early in the rule book. Do you think that the rule books today, do you think that we're seeing improvements overall, or do you think that some are good and others are lacking? And when you have a rule book, well, we'll start off with that and we'll go to the next piece. Do you think rules are getting better, or do you think that only some of them are getting better and others are lacking? Your opinion?
It depends on who's writing them. I mean, rule book's only as good as the guy writing it. And there are some games, and I'm going to reference this game a lot, but it's currently what's on my mind because it's what I'm playing. Right, uh, Sacred Oil, 1985, real good game, real deep rule book.
Mhm.
But part of the advantage that I have is I have played the previous one in the series, so I've got some experience. I'm not coming in blind. But I always try to think about it that if I were a first time gamer, first time sitting down, I should be able to read this book and know how to play the game. I mean, not perfectly right out of the gate,
Mhm.
but you need to be able to write a rule book in such a way that someone who's never played a war game before can play that game. And I think a lot of the problem comes from that interlocking concept that I was talking about. 1985 is not a hard game per se, but so much of it
Mhm.
like interlocks with all the other pieces that it's
Yeah.
hard to keep track of it. There's only so many connections you can make before your mind kind of peters out. Me, you get one connection, I'm about done. About that point. But this one
Well,
has a lot.
it's not the fact. I think you hit on a good point there. It's not that it's a complex rule book. It's just that the complexity comes with the layers of how the inner working, how they all interlock and come together, and how you have to think. Okay, I'm doing this, but I need to think about this before I do this, and I've got to also think about this and what the response could be from that when you're doing it. And
Yeah.
that's also where the fun part is. But you touched on the difficulty for a new war gamer, and war games are different in relation to a lot of other games for the simple fact that they're not simple. There are some concepts that you're expected to understand, and if you don't, then you're gonna probably have to look elsewhere outside the rule book. That's why there are like beginner level games or introductory type games like SCS and things like that that teach you the basics of Zoc supply and advance after combat, all these there, CRTs, how to read all that stuff, terrain, how terrain modifiers work and moving across terrain. All these things that we take for granted that a new war gamer is going to sit there and go, I gotta do math and figure out how to move from here to there across terrain. And then you get confused. We all been through that. Okay, now do I pay to get onto the road, the full movement, or do I just use because I'm moving onto the road? Is it a half movement? Because when I move on the road, it's a half movement on the road.
But
And
only
those
if
are
you're
little
in the
things.
right position,
Yeah.
the right
But those are
formation.
those are the things that will screw people up. Well, I'm not even talking formation. I'm just talking like something like SCS. Just moving a unit onto a road to get road movement bonus. And how that I apologize my throat. I've been coughing up a storm today. I don't know, allergies or something's going on, but
Got
um
the coof, man.
no, I don't. No. It's just I have like a cough that just keeps I got some congestion and it just keeps going recycling. So
I've
I
been
keep,
there.
clearing my throat. But the thing is with rules, there's of course, like I said, there's that assumed knowledge, and then there's the gained knowledge that you get from playing. It's tough to get a rule book to make all rule books get a newer wargamer into it without having everyone else say, okay, I already know this stuff. Let me bypass it,
No,
because then you can have a giant rule book that we don't need 5 or 10 of those pages.
yeah, to interject in what you're talking about, that assumed knowledge, that's that concept that can go one of two ways that I've seen designers make when they're making their rule books is the assumed knowledge that you'll know just by being a war gamer, and the assumed knowledge that the designer is taking it for granted because he knows it and he's
Mhm.
not doing a good job of translating that information. And that
Yes.
that anyone can do that. I've seen games miss that. I won't call out specifics, but there have been games that I played where I'm looking at it and I'm like, what's going on here? And the designer had just omitted part of the rules because to him it was understood.
Yeah.
He understood it, but he didn't convey that information. That's a easy mistake to make, and I can understand how any designer could make it.
Mhm.
But I think the greater issue is the one that is the assumed knowledge that you're thinking that the person's coming in understanding things like zones of control, lines of communication, different terrain. Think about it. Just moving a unit now in most games, you have
Mhm.
to consider how much movement value they have, what type of terrain they're moving into. Are they starting off in supply or out of supply? Is their command radius? What
Mhm.
type of unit is it tracked? Is it wheeled? Is it mechanized? Depending on the
Mhm.
scale of the game. And that's just to move something a couple of hexes,
Yeah.
right? And you can see right there how deep some of this stuff's really going to get,
Mhm.
you know? And I think that's a problem a lot of people are running into. That's where I run into. I start getting to where everything melds together in the mind and I can't
Yeah.
space it out and keep it straight.
Well, that was something, this is a good one here. Fango Wolf says, I can know rules for about 2 weeks and then something else kicks it out, which is very true. I am jealous of the people who can consume rules, remember them, absorb 2 or 3 other rule books, and still remember the first one very well. Unless it's a simple game, then you played it a bunch of times, you're going to pretty much know what a cursory look at the rules is going to, make it easier for you. But I feel where you make up for difficulty in rule books or the complexity in rule books, the layers is in solid play rates, because a good play rate is going to allow you to follow along, know exactly what you need to know. And when you're not sure, you just go right to that, case number, and you look up whatever that rule is that's, regarded that on the play rate. And then oh yeah, that's right. That's what it is. Boom. Yeah, not a 2 second, but it's like 30 seconds. You're looking at something and go, oh yeah, that's what it is. And then there was another question here. Another question. Is the new NATO rulebook as good as claimed? Yeah, it is, but it's also 87 pages, which can scare people. But it goes to what you were saying. A new player will sit down with NATO if they don't get intimidated by the 87 pages and they read it. They're going to understand all the concepts in it. And he's got the veteran summary, which allows veteran war gamers to jump over parts, because you already understand these things. He gives you like a paragraph or two summary saying, here's what Azak is in this game. Here's what supply is in this game. Go to this page, or just bypass this section altogether. So
Okay.
it
Yeah, I
really
like
it
that.
really speeds that up quite a bit.
So, in other words, instead of explaining out in detail how zone of control works,
Mhm.
he's like, "Look, this is how zone of control works in NATO. So, if you understand the concept, this is what you need to know for my game."
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I think that's a good way to go with it.
And Nick says 2 parts to rules, clarity on mechanics, and then an understanding of how the mechanics translate into tactics or operations. And that's another thing that people have. It's kind of like Nick brings up another great point. A lot of people I'm seeing it now where now people just don't want to understand the rules. They want it explained to them how to play the game. And I think that's what the examples of play are supposed to be for, to show you, okay, mechanically, this is how it works. Tactics, you really should figure out on your own. There can be some designer's notes and some historical notes in the back, maybe, like a page or two of, okay, if you're this player, here's some suggestions. If you're this player, here's some suggestions. To me, the beauty of playing a war game, and it's because I have this mindset. Now, for other people, they go for the win. They're wanting to know, how do I maximize my strategy? So they want to have tips on that. Me, I'm like, hey, what does this do? What does this button do? What does this lever do? I just want to see what things do when I play. And there'll be times I'm like, I'm going to do an airstrike right there. And, the guy I'm playing is going to be like, why? It's not going to really be advantageous to you. I just want to see how it works. It's like I'm almost like playing a demo as I play games a lot of times. Not always, but it's not that I don't take games seriously. I do. I see them as a place to explore. And then the more I play the game and I've explored things, then I have a better idea of what I can do. And that's where sometimes I'll pull something out and people are like, I didn't see that coming. It's like, yeah, it's because I did that a couple of games ago when I was just screwing around and I figured out how it works, and it helped me in a later game. But
Did
to
you
me, the exploration is the fun part of gaming.
do you ever find yourself kind of sacrificing on the tactics or the strategy? Like for me, when I'm recording, I'm playing the game on camera, and
Mhm.
because so much of my mind is dedicated to, is my lighting right, is my sound right, and I'm constantly glancing at the camera to make sure I'm in frame, I can't really focus as much about what's going on in front of me. So it's usually just smash units together until one
Uh-huh.
side prevails from Dice God. You
You
know,
didn't watch my NATO videos, did you?
not
When I
yet.
totally left my flank open and I beat myself? And I didn't see it until I switched, hats to the NATO side, and I was like, "Holy
Yeah,
shit! I left my flanks wide open. How
I've
did I
done that.
not notice this?"
You're sitting there looking at it, and you're like, "This is the like afterwards, right?" So you're done. You come back, and you're watching the video, editing, whatever, and you're like, "Wow, that was really stupid." What the hell was I thinking there? You can't keep track of that stuff, when you're filming. So it's not that we're dumb at these games. It's just that there's too much other stuff going on
Sure,
interfering with that. We
sure.
leave tactics to you guys.
That's true. And until you play a game multiple times, and you will do tactics. Plus, and Nick can attest to this because we played Stalingrad 42 a couple of years ago, me, him, and Tom, and playing as the Russians. Tom's coming at us as the Germans, and I'm like, I was playing the Soviets, and I was all in the mindset of the Soviets. I'm like, not one step back, man. I am not giving up the spot. And Nick's like, dude, we got to start pulling back. I'm like, screw that, man. We're standing our ground. He's just like, you're an idiot. But I'll do that too, because I'll not only will I use my own strategy, but at the same time, I'll just be like, I'll kind of slide into the historical aspect of it where they didn't care about the troops, stand your ground, and I'll do that sometimes. Whereas if I'm playing a Japanese or something like that, I'm just going to throw as many troops at you as humanly possible and overwhelm you with numbers to try to get through. So I will use some historical strategy tactics as well as some of my own, and then sometimes I just make stuff up as I go along, which is I think how most of us play anyway. But Jason says the basics, movement, CRT, Zox are easy. The issue is that every game has different exceptions, stacking, terrain effects, and special cases that vary from the basics. And that kind of goes back to what I said a couple minutes ago, that I think what really makes a big difference is a good player aid in a game.
That I got to agree with you, because that's one of the things that's missing from 1985 is a good, unless I've missed it, something that lists down for the stacking limitations for each different hex.
Mhm.
Because now this is a me thing, all right? This is just a me personal problem. For some reason, ever since I took that blow in my head, I
Mhm.
cannot keep track of what a brigade is, a regiment, a battalion. Company down, I understand. I can keep it
Mhm.
straight, but everything above that is just a blur. So I
Well,
hate it
that's where
when
you
the
need
game
to.
uses that.
Well, what you should do is this: you should create a little cheat sheet for yourself and have it just on the table. Don't even have it in any game; just have it on the table, and then you just platoon, company, battalion, regiment, brigade, division, army, corps. You just list them in descending order, or ascending order, I should say, and that way, and have their NATO things next to them. What is a company? What is a division? So on and so forth. Have all that laid out for you as a reference point. Cheat sheet, just like we used to always use in the Corps. We just have, oh, what's that card? Oh, there it is. Boom, just to jog your memory. And if you have memory issues already, then you use that to remind yourself. Hell, I don't have. Well, I've got older. I'm getting older, so I've got that excuse. But I'll have
What do you
stuff
mean
like that out
getting
all the time.
getting
I,
past it?
well, we're all getting older every minute, so
Look,
getting
it's
older. See,
right
when you're
here.
old, it's
Just
over. Shut up, great man.
hey, it's coming in. I don't know if you've noticed though. I'm getting long up top. She
That's
insisted
sad.
now that she made a deal with me. I was giving her hell because she kept wanting to cut her hair short, and I was like, I didn't marry a short-haired broad. Grow it back out. She's like, well, you grow your hair out, and I'll grow mine out. And I was like, all right then. She didn't expect me to say yes, so she's got it in her head that I'm gonna do the Opie thing. Talk
Oh
about from
man.
Sons of Anarchy. Have it
Yeah,
all the
that's what I
way
was gonna
back.
say. You're gonna have the ponytail and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So I told her I've never done it before. I'll try it for you once. We'll see how it goes. And if it goes bad, it gets shaved. She's like, all right, fair enough.
Well, John
But either
says
way, she has to keep hers long.
there you go. The rules of Paper Wars 90 game, MacArthur Road to Bataan, doesn't even tell players which colors are U.S. Filipino units and which are Japanese. They assume we all know yellow and white is Japanese. Well, that is kind of a what do you call it? That is a fair assumption, because that's traditionally all these forces have traditional colors. U.S. is green,
Blue or green.
sometimes blue, but generally green. Like an OD
Yeah.
green, varying shades. And then if you've got Army and Marine Corps, One's going to be lighter and the other is going to be darker. And sometimes that can play havoc if the colors are too close together. It's very difficult to see which one's which, unless you put the anchor on the Marine unit, which is what they end up doing a lot of times. They'll just have instead of the NATO symbol, they'll throw, or in the NATO symbol, they'll throw in a eagle, or not the eagle of an anchor, but the anchor, so that way it's a Marine unit. But US is generally going to be green, and then for the Germans, they're always going to be gray. Sometimes they'll be black for SS, things like that. Soviets are always going to be red and brown. Red for the guards units and brown for the standard units. Japanese are going to be yellow. So I mean, it's just, these are known things. And then now where you run into some problems is when you have Soviets. Well, now it's not Soviets, it's Russian in modern times, and PRC. PRC is going to be a brighter red, and the standard Russian Federation is going to be a darker maroonish kind of color. So it can get a little, it's like they start kind of overrunning each other, the colors. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point about how the assumptions are made. And that's part of the thing that should also be in every game, is a listing of the colors, so that way the national colors of all the games in the game, I should say.
For Poland, what color do you think they always go with? Because I've got one, like a thought in my mind. I've seen Poland, and in most games they usually go with this color.
White
would be my second guess on that. First one would be pink.
No, pink shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen so many games they've got Polish pink.
No, I mean, I don't think pink should be in a game. I've seen pink for, I've seen Soviets as pink Okamis, and then I've seen others that will put the SS units as pink. It's like, okay, we get it. It's a nice little dig, but it's dumb. Stick with traditional colors, so that way you don't confuse people, and it also doesn't look incredibly garish on the map. I want a nice looking game. So,
well, my thing is not as much the color they choose for the faction, the nation. I'm okay with that, generally understood. My problem comes in when the color bleeds into the map. And I've showed that on games before, especially where it's got Soviet forces versus US forces, and the red just pops right off the map. Yellow pops right off the map. But the American forces just bleed in, especially if they're in a forested area. They become very, very hard to find.
Think about it.
If you're that close, you got to pick a different color.
Well, that is something that I mean, 100% agree with you on that. But at the same time, I think that makes a good point that a lot of people overlook. I know I do a lot of times, but now you get a better feeling for how a colorblind player feels, because you can't discern those colors real easy. It's the same for a colorblind person. When they try to play these games, they're like, they need other things to jog their memory or to understand, like a mnemonic on the board, to know which counter is which, because sometimes those counters all look very similar, and you can't get a good clear picture that way without that. So that's a challenge.
I get what you're saying, but that's not a good excuse. That's like saying, because some people have one hand, everyone only plays with one hand.
No. I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm just saying that is a good lesson. When you see it done wrong like that, that is a good lesson to show you how difficult it is for colorblind players. So that's something publishers need to, I think, keep in mind and try to work at getting better at, making colors that are more, or at least symbols on the counters if they can't get the colors, because I know there's different varying levels of color blindness. But is something that I think often gets overlooked by publishers, and I think that's something that the wargame hobby can get better at, is making games more accessible for colorblind people. And if there's anybody in the audience is colorblind, you can chime in. I'm fortunately not, so I can't say either way, but for those who have experienced that, you can chime in.
Yeah, I don't want to suffer along with them. I just think if a game doesn't have a reason to make the US forces green, like a close green that matches the map, then go with something else. Go with a blue, a bright blue, or if you don't have another force that's that color, there's no reason not to make the US forces that, unless you have other games in the series that already have blue forces, so you would have to keep the Americans as green. If it's expanded like that, cool, I get it, no problem. But if this is a one-off, then make them something else to make it easier to be seen.
And Tim says wargamers need to, no, that's what this is all about. Wargamers need to enjoy figuring out the rules, reading rules, and just fiddling with the game. It's rare to get someone who will teach you how to play the whole game unless it's Command and Colors. And that kind of goes to something I've talked about in the past, where one of the beautiful things that I think the wargame hobby has over every other aspects of the gaming hobby, by far, hands down, is the fact that Nate and I can sit down to play a game and, be competitive, or any of us can sit down to play a game to be competitive, to try to win. But we're going to work together to understand the rules while we're playing the game. Because if I may not understand this part of the rules, he may not understand that part, but together, cooperatively, we will understand the entire rule book. And that's the most important thing of the session, is to gain a better understanding of the rules and the game itself. And then at the same time, compete against each other. And maybe I'll say, hey, Nate, do you really want to do that? Because you remember rules such and such. If you do that, it's going to expose you over here, or it's going to put you, in a bad position for something else. Oh, that's right. Thanks for reminding me. And vice versa. He'll do the same. Well, he wouldn't do the same for me. He would just kill me. But no, but I mean,
After I killed you, I pointed out.
Yeah. It's like, hey, dumbass. The reason I killed you is because you forgot that rule 11, but it's true that we tend to work, much better cooperatively, at the same time competing against each other. And I think that's one of the many areas I think the war game hobby is just so far superior to other aspects of the gaming hobby.
I gotta agree with you on that. Now, we've all had that exception, that guy, the one that's just being a dick or a rules Nazi just to do it because his
Yeah.
goal in life is to win. I told you I had that one dude I played in X-Wing one time, and he made a real bad move, flew into one of my bombs. I'm sitting there going, yay, because I just took out his,
I do
key
remember
pilot.
that.
And the dude like throws his down and just breaks it right there. And I'm like, it's a big of a deal. He just ruined his day. Losing the game wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know. Maybe
Mhm.
his girlfriend broke up with him or something, but he just struck me as the type that couldn't stand to lose. The worst, I think, was the dude I mentioned to you before, that he would pack up his stuff and leave if he wasn't winning, like right in the
Oh
middle of the
God.
game. He would just pick his stuff up and walk
Taking my
off.
ball and going home.
He did that to a 10-year-old. Like the kid was
Really?
beating him, real good kid, real mature kid playing the game, uh, doing well, and the guy got mad and just grabbed his stuff and goes walking off. And after that, he got upset and stopped coming around to hang out because no one would play him because he's a dick.
The
You know
funny
how it
thing
is.
is,
You don't want to play with a guy like that.
no, no. If you get a guy like that, see me, I don't know. I'm not super competitive. I mean, I can be competitive, and I tend to be more competitive with like tactical. I guess the lower levels, I get more competitive. Not competitive as in I need to win, I must win at all costs. It's just competitive as in I'm trying to get the best strategy out of my own mind. I'm trying to deal with the tactical puzzle. The bigger operational games and stuff like that, it's similar, but I don't know. Again, it's exploration, and not that I don't take it serious. I do. It's just I like to explore things. It seems that when I get into the lower level, it seems more immediate to me, and I get a more of an attachment, because maybe it's because I actually see guys on the counters, and I feel like I'm attached to these guys now, because it's squad, platoon level, whatever. So that will draw me more into it. But I've never been like, I've got to win, and I can't stand people that do that. And I really hate playing with people that'll say, okay, well, you moved here and that's against the rules, and I'm going to show you why. It's like, okay, you know what? Let's just pack this game up right now, because you're being an ass and I really don't have patience for you. Sorry. Don't condescend your opponent. Don't patronize them. Don't be a jerk. Just play the game. If they make a mistake, say, hold on, let me stop you right there. You're not supposed to do this or whatever. It's like, maybe they don't understand the rule, or maybe they forgot it. Oh, that's right. Sorry. My bad, dude. Sorry. And oh, no problem. And just retcon it. I'll do it all the time. Somebody goes, oh, I forgot, I should have done this, because now I'm going to be screwing myself because I didn't bring my artillery. And I'm like, bring the artillery in. I don't care. I mean, we're here to have fun.
I
It's
think
not
we
like
just
we're
run
playing
into
for
it less.
$500,000.
Well, I think we run into it less because it's a
Yeah.
smaller hobby, right? So since
Yeah.
it's a smaller demographic, more people know each other. You're going to run into less of that asshole type person because they're going to kind of get weeded out over time. But bigger hobbies
Mhm.
where there's like 40 Warhammer 40,000, there's plenty of people there. So if they really piss off this group, they can go to another group that's not going to know
Mhm.
them. And,
Yeah.
keep pulling their same shenanigans. Here, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to find that many players that are into, hex and counter war game type stuff.
See, now there is exactly the point. I think I want to play a game and try to do well and just have fun. I don't care if I lose. The hobby should be for enjoyment. That is pretty much my opinion. Now, where I would be slightly different is I don't care if I don't care necessarily if I lose. If I'm playing a lower level game, like it's a tactical platoon level or something like that, I'll get mad at myself. I won't be mad that I lost. I'll be mad. Oh, damn it. I should have thought of this, or I should have done this differently. I don't get mad and pissy at the table or anything like that. It's just in my own mind. I'm sitting there going, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. And then other times I'm just like, Leroy Jenkins. I don't care. I'm just going to have
going
fun.
with
I mean, it's all about fun. These are games, and you've got to enjoy yourself.
Wow.
Oh, usually forgetting to check supply. I got a question for you. What's supply? I'm just kidding.
I really hate the concept of supply. I know, I get it, why it's in the game.
Guess you don't like
I
OCS.
understand it. I'm gonna get into it to just try it out, but I like to just thinking about the fighting and
Me too.
the basic rule, right? So if you can trace a line of hexes back behind you to where the pogies are, cool, no problem. I'm good with that. But when it starts getting overly cumbersome, that's where my issues start getting into it, and I don't much care for it. Like, and I honestly, if I wasn't playing this on camera, I
Mhm.
would have house ruled it, because there's different rules in Sacred Oil for different nations as far as
Mhm.
supply goes, right? So you got 10 hexes, or 10 movement points rather, from a city urban hex to the HQ, and then from the HQ to the unit. And I just think of that as so limiting, because I'm like, you're
Mhm.
holding me. I can only go out to this far, and now it's a puzzle. But I don't want to destroy stuff to just that far. I want to destroy stuff to this far.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna ignore that supply shit. You bring it with you. You keep going with it. Speaking of which, answer me this. Tell me if I'm wrong. If
You're wrong.
in that specific game, if can you take control of an enemy city or something like that? Have one of your units positioned there to make that like a new supply point for yourself as you extend into the enemy lines?
For 1985 Sacred Oil?
Yeah, yeah.
Not sure. Not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the rules. Do not recall. Now, Kev would probably know better. Well, he may not even know. I think he's only played so far the big. You talking about in the first scenario?
No, the four
When you get
scenarios
into
what I'm playing.
actual, full combat, not just that whole chart that you're playing on in the first
No,
scenario.
not the lock
Okay.
map.
Yeah.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the way the map's kind of designed. A lot of that's open desert
Yeah.
terrain,
Mhm.
and tracing it out from your
Yeah. You're talking about
city urban
supply.
axis.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can only get so far.
Yeah.
So your
You
front
have to have
line
supply
is,
points. Yeah.
but what's your supply point? I feel like I'm missing something in there. Your
Mm,
supply point's your HQ,
yeah. Yeah. But it has to trace supply back.
but it can only extend out so far. The
Yeah. Unless
NATO
you
and
have
the Soviets
depots.
can extend a little farther, but
Mhm. I
I
have to take a look at the rules, to be honest with you. I'm not sure off the top of my head. If anybody in the audience knows, and we'll see if anybody has added to that, but they would know.
because that's going to just be so limiting on how far each side can actually push. Because I don't think that Iran can actually push into Baghdad and actually reach Baghdad and maintain
Yeah.
supply the entire way. But that's one of like the goals, is if you take out Baghdad, you can force an Iraqi
Mhm.
surrender, which I want to do in the game. But how do I do it and maintain supply?
Beat them mercilessly. Then you don't have
And
to worry
I'm
about supply.
and I'm not even using the I know I'm getting way off topic here, but I'm not even using the advanced supply rules. I'm just using the basic. Can you trace your line?
Sounds like the basic ones are messing you up already.
Yeah, maybe
John
that's what it is. Maybe the advanced ones give it an ability to move something a little farther.
John's saying that's why he stopped playing chess. I used to beat myself up over losing. Yeah, when you get into games now, chess is a tournament game. And tournament games are very popular, and it's also a casual game for some people. But generally, when people play chess, they play it varying degrees of serious. Some uber serious, and some are just like, okay, I'm just learning and I'm having fun, but it's mostly fun, but at the same time, I'm casually learning each game. And then the other people that study books and know all these, try to memorize all these moves and stuff like that. And that's fine. And we have something similar in the war game realm, where we've got tournament games, tournament scenarios. And the minute I know you play, this is where you and I are probably different. You play games like X-Wing and things like that. You play in tournament
Yeah.
settings. I avoid tournament settings like the friggin' plague. And when I see a tournament scenario, I'm like, I don't want to bother with it, because I understand it's great for playing a game within 2 hours. It's short, but it becomes almost like chess. It's like, okay, I already have my moves mapped out in my head what I'm going to do, because it's a tournament game and everything is maximizing, each move to get the game won as fast as possible. To me, I don't find that enjoyable personally. That's just not my style. Probably because I like to just run off and explore. But I can see the appeal for other people, especially those who want to compete and get it in a shorter amount of time. Something like that would probably appeal more to you than me.
Well, I haven't actually competed in one of those tournaments in years. Strangely enough, when COVID first started, remember it really kicked off in March of 2020, I think it was. We had a tournament scheduled that next week. So right when it got all bad, we ended up getting a message, "Hey, the tournament's been canceled. We'll reschedule here in 2 weeks," when what they flatten the curve, and they still haven't rescheduled.
2
But
years to
anyway,
flatten the curve.
yeah. But ever since then, I haven't, been into the tournament scene. I haven't really played X-Wing, but I think once since then, and it's
Really?
really sad. Yeah, like it killed the local play scene when all that happened. People are just now really kind of picking back up into it, but so many people got into playing digitally that a lot of it is still done digitally, and I hate playing X-Wing digitally. It's strange. I mean, I'm younger than, probably a lot of the audience, but I hate doing the video stuff, the Vassal. I don't want to play it digitally. I want to play it in front of me. I want to feel it. I want to
Mhm.
touch it. I want to, do that.
I want to pet it and love it and make it my
Yeah.
own.
Like if I want to play something digital, I'll go play a damn video game. You know what I mean? That's
Sure.
just personal thought.
Mhm.
But it
Vassal
comes in
does
handy
have
for
a
stripping
lot of
files.
advantages. It has a lot of advantages though, because you can play with somebody across the world, across the country, whatever, and you can, hey, you know what? We get this monster game that if we were to sit down and play, we'd have to start on like a Thursday night or a Friday night and play all the way till Monday, and we'd have to literally just commit the entire weekend to playing this. You can do something like that, and you can play it like a couple hours a night, a couple days a week, and stretch it out over like a month and have the same enjoyment, but actually even better enjoyment, because you'll be able to play for 2 hours, say a night. You say to yourself, oh, yeah, we'll play 2 hours a night for a few nights a week. In those 2 hours, you're getting more done and you're thinking about what you're going to do in between sessions. Whereas when you're playing the entire weekend, you get engrossed in it, but you also hit a saturation point to where you're like, I'm starting to fatigue, starting to kick in, and I'm going to start making mistakes. And, we all are. And you're going to enjoy it, but at the same time, you're still going to hit that fatigue level. And that's where Vassal is beneficial, because you can take those breaks and come back to it with your batteries refreshed. And I think that is beneficial too. And that's something that you should consider too, as well. I think checking out Vassal, I think it would be worthwhile for you.
I've got it. I've poked around at it, but more often than not, I use Vassal just to strip image files from it. I've actually never
Of
played
course you do.
a game. I've never played a actual like game, like fully played it out on Vassal with anyone, but it's not a bad idea, especially for something larger. I mean, you can't fit some of these games on a table, right?
Mm,
Yeah, especially when you
true. And
start
that's where
counting all the
Vassal
player
is
aids.
is is great, because you can fit a monster game on your computer screen and work through it. And I agree. I mean, I prefer, if I can sit down with a war game on the table. Obviously, I want to do that. I like the tactile feel of everything, and it just feels better when you're flipping through a rule book by hand, and it's just relaxing. You take your time. There's no pressure, especially when you're playing solo, and you can just go at your own pace and make mistakes like I did with NATO, where I left my flank wide open and just like, I was like, you stupid idiot. But that's the fun part about solitaire. People say solitaire can't be enjoyable. You're going to know what you're going to do. Not always, because you can get so tied up into being one side, or
Yeah.
like you were saying before, I was taking pictures and I was making copious notes to do the AAR, because I wasn't shooting video. I was taking pictures, and then I turned it into a video later with the voiceover and all. But I was trying to make sure I was hitting the rules right. I was getting the pictures, getting everything just right. And I was getting the notes right. So I had some narrative and the information of who got destroyed, so on and so forth. And that's when I realized, when I switched over to NATO, I'm like, son of a bitch, I left my flanks wide open. How did I not catch that? Now, at that point, I could have retconned it and said, screw it, I'm going to keep going. But I was like, no, I deserve to beat myself on this one. That was stupid. Because,
Yeah.
and it made sense because the Soviets were so, focused on driving forward that they left their flanks wide open.
Yeah, if I make a mistake, I'll leave it in there more often than not, unless it's a severely egregious mistake that's
Yeah.
going to change the course of the game
Or ruin
and
the
it's
video for the viewer. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and retcon it. But if it's a small, minor, little thing, I'll just leave it in there. Now, I'll tell you one that I am actually considering trying out, that in lieu of Vassal, the War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. You know which one I'm
Mhm.
talking about?
Yeah. That was OSS, I think. Was that one small step?
No. That was blah 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 blah. The board game was Decision Games.
No, it was Decision. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
okay. I thought it
Decision
was one
Games.
small step.
But I think it's Matrix that did the video game, and they've got the actual video game for it, where Solitaire AI and the whole nine.
Mhm.
I've never played it. I don't know the rules to it, but I was thinking about making a video series where I sit down with it, don't go over the rules or anything, and just start playing and see if I can do anywhere near decent, trying
Mhm.
to lead the American Pacific Force and see if they can actually win or not, and
Mhm.
just record it out and try that out. Now that I think I would like better in Vassal, because the AI is controlling half of it,
Mhm.
right? So that takes that portion from me. Whereas if I'm doing a Vassal game, I still have to run both sides.
Yeah, just like you do on a board game.
Well, yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Vassal isn't alleviating that for me. I mean, are
No,
there
no,
any vassals that have any AI to them?
no, no.
Yeah.
They
So
they can
you're
have different levels of, I don't want to say scripted stuff, but they can have a lot of tools inside of the Vassal module to make things easier for you to keep track of things in the game. But you're not getting an AI. It's free, so you're not getting AI. For there to be AI, you'd have to pay, because you have to have a developer that's going to write your AI and not only create the game and do the scenarios and everything else, but they're going to have to create AI. They're going to have to do the whole pathing and decision making and all that other stuff that you can do it on your own in Vassal.
yeah.
But Mitch brings up a good point. Fatigue and making mistakes. You mean just like in a real war? Yeah, the difference is,
Yeah.
though, Mitch, when we're playing a game, we're playing like over the weekend. We might be playing like a 6-month campaign, or a 3 or 6-month campaign in the span of 48 hours. So that's can be kind of tough. But you do bring up a great point, that fatigue is something that you deal with in real war. But the other difference is you're playing one-on-one and you're making complete staff decisions by yourself. Whereas in real war, you'd have a staff and a runner to go get you bacon sandwiches and stuff and coffee to keep it going. And Stigler,
No.
he's our resident Vassal disciple here. He's saying, I pity people who haven't given Vassal a fair chance. It really is a shame. So he pities you, Nate. No comment?
I'm not saying the Vassal's bad.
I
Vassal has a lot
I
of pros
tossed
to
the
it.
softball to you, dude.
Wait,
And
can you
John,
hear me or not?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Were you
I
talking?
didn't know. Yeah, I had talked back to you.
Oh, yeah, you did, but you didn't say much.
Oh. Sorry, we were having that lag earlier. I didn't know if I had
Yes.
zoned out or lagged out there or not.
John says,
Flat
I played
top.
a flat top all-nighter once. The caffeine high mixed with exhaustion made for a memorable gaming experience. That is true. When you play like an all-nighter and you get that sugar caffeine thing going, and you start off, you're all full of piss and vinegar. You're like, yeah, this is gonna be a great 12-hour game, and then about 6 hours in, yeah, this is so much fun. 8 hours in, oh, I'm starting to get a little tired, sitting a little achy. 10 hours in, you're like, man, I'm kind of hurting. Then you get that second wind, and then you feel like, yeah, I can do this. And then you're like, it's time for breakfast. You do get that. But the main thing is you have memorable gaming experiences. And sometimes those things like that are. What was your best gaming experience? War game or otherwise?
Mine?
Or one of them. Or one of them, yes. No, the other co-host.
Does truth or dare in high school count?
Well, let's
I don't
keep
know.
it on the topic
That
of
would
gaming.
actually require a little bit of thought.
Holy crap, dude! Here's a free crayon if you can answer the question.
I don't know, because
Some snacks.
it depends on how you break it down.
Well, okay,
Sorry,
I'll give you one.
I think your internet's lagging you out a little bit because you're coming in and out.
Really? Or is it me or is it Nate that's lagging out? Because I'm seeing you
Yeah.
lagging out. Okay, well, let the audience.
I'm seeing you.
Oh, that's right. Blame me.
Yeah, y'all let us know which one of us is zoning out.
But I'll give you an example. I think I've mentioned this before. We were playing. It's not a war game. It was Zombicide. It was the Rue Morgue version. I was at a convention and they were just having a pickup game going, and they said, "Hey, we need one more." And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I'll play Zombicide. It's a fun little dice chucker, sitting around drinking some whiskey and tossing dice and talking trash and having fun." Well, there was one thing, and I forget what the hell the power was. All I know is I had a character that had a chainsaw and had like this overkill power where you killed one, you ended up killing three or something like that. It was some ridiculous power that when you leveled up to a thing, when you level up in Zombicide, maybe I killed two, I forget, but I killed more than just the one that I would kill when I killed. And this one guy, we had to get something out of the building and get out and extract to where the helo was. So we all beat feet out of the building. There's a horde of zombies that have been chasing us into this building. They're like right up behind us. This one dude just could not get out of the building. And he's like, and I'll never forget this. We're all just sitting around a table. He's like, man, I'm stuck. I'm going to get eaten like that. And we're like, hold on, bro. We're going to come save you. We come running back after him. And he's just got all these zombies. He's fighting off as best he can. And we just go in, and I end up getting in the door, and I literally just carved a friggin' path because I just kept killing these zombies with this overkill thing. Other guys are shooting them. I'm carving guys up. And what we did was we just laid the zombies down. We didn't move them off the table. We just dropped them down. And then we got the guy out. We ran away. And it was all maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But afterwards, we're like, dude, look at the carnage we left behind. I swear there had to be like 40, 50 models on the table just dead. And it was so fun because we just started laughing. We couldn't stop laughing. And we were just like, and everyone is like reliving it. Like, I was going to die. And you guys were like, don't worry, bro. We're coming to save you. And then they come running back in. It was just, none of us knew each other. We were all completely strangers to each other. And we all ended up had this bonding experience over this simple, stupid, silly little game. And it was so much fun. Now, those are the types of things I was talking about, something like that.
Okay. All right. I got a couple that I can throw in there. And strangely enough, neither one of them are really war games. The first one, competitive, would be an X-Wing tournament I was in. It was a relatively large tournament. Fair number of people. I think some people, whoever won this one, I think got a ticket to Worlds, like the Grand Championship tournament. And it was going on, and turned out we had like a X-Wing celebrity in the house. So guy that was ranked worldwide, and it turned out he was actually ranked number 4 in the world when it came to X-Wing.
I thought you were gonna have like a real X-Wing celebrity like Mark Hamill.
No. No, this is better than Mark Hamill. The tournament's going on. I end up getting matched up with this guy because it's random tournament, and depending on how well you do, your score, your MOD determined who your next opponent was going to be. And we were both undefeated up until this point. ended up playing the guy, and I didn't win, but I didn't lose. We ended up getting a draw, and I was thrilled with it because I was like, well, fourth in the world, and he couldn't beat me. He was undefeated, I was undefeated, and we ended up fighting it down to time, and we had equal scores at that point, so it ended up being a draw for us. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take a draw against fourth in the world, and I ended up placing, I think, top four in the tournament. I can't remember
Damn.
where he ended up placing on that one, so I was real happy with that. That's like, a competitive win. I was doing real good at that one. The other gaming experience is the stuff that sticks with you, the stuff that you're going to think back on when you're old, sitting on your porch drinking a cup of coffee when I'm 80 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
that's sitting in the living room on the floor on the carpet playing Arkham Horror with the wife,
Mm-hmm.
back when we were young, playing those types of games, or playing zombies. Any of the real happy memories that I have of playing games, it's always like me and her just sitting there playing some game, or playing
Sure.
Dominion. I don't know if you ever played that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I played that
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah. That's a pretty
Yeah.
simple deck builder type of game.
Yeah.
And I hate deck builders. I just
No, but
just a thing. I don't like deck builders myself. My wife likes them.
yeah,
I've played.
she
I've
loves it.
played. I play. I don't know what it is, but women. I noticed women tend to really enjoy deck builders. For some reason, it clicks for them right away. Me, I have. I honestly feel I have an aversion to cards. When it comes to games, there are some games that are just so heavily card driven, by like deck builders. I'm not talking about card driven war games or hands of cards that I find them to be a turnoff. They're fun at first, but then they become a turnoff because it really comes down to memorizing the deck and understanding what you've got, what your opponent most likely has, and when it's going to come out and play. To me, it goes back to that. Reminds me of chess and why I don't like playing chess, because to me it's all memorizing and trying to figure out what does he have, what's he going to do based on the limited choices. It's like, it almost feels scripted at that point. Give me random chaos. There's going to be some parameters that are going to keep you tied in, like most war games, with the random chaos, like the dice, the modifiers, things like that. And those things you can kind of semi control by forcing your opponent into a bad terrain environment where you can get an advantage on them, things like that. That to me is the fun part. But the chaos is the friction is from the dice that creates the unknown of combat. I like that, even though Mitch says that we're weekend warriors for not wanting to play 48-hour games.
No, I'm not pushing it. I've done my
So it was
stay
you, man.
awake forever thing. I'm not doing that anymore.
Mitch said it was you. You're blurry and laggy.
Yeah.
But that's just you all the time.
My record actually, though, is 83 hours awake straight.
83
And
hours what?
just being
Firewatch?
awake. No, we were combat training. It wasn't even in combat, it was combat training. And we ended up being awake for a while. And I remember after 83 hours, I was hallucinating and talking to my grandfather, who was not there. And my brother was in the fighting hall with me, and he was supposed to be asleep at that time. And he wakes up and he sees me having a conversation. He's like, "Who in the hell are you talking to?" I'm like, "It's Grandpa. He's right here." And he's like, "Dude, you got to get some sleep." He's like, "You're in a
Oh
bad
yeah,
spot right now."
that's
I
the
was,
thing that people don't realize. If you've never had experienced sleep deprivation, try. I think everybody's pulled 24 hours, some even 36 hours. But once you get the 48-hour limit, or you hit that 48-hour limit, then you start going beyond that. Even if you get half an hour sleep or something like that, it's not really sleep. You're closing your eyes, and the next thing you know is you're awake. All that fatigue. I mean, hallucinations are truly a real thing, because you don't think you'll hallucinate, but try staying up for 48 hours and tell me you don't hallucinate. And
yeah,
please, if you're going to try that experiment, do not operate any type of machinery, any sharp objects, and do not drive a car, because you will hallucinate. And it'll get you. You might
you
end
ever
up
been
getting hurt.
you ever been so tired you were marching on your feet? I remember that we were doing a slow force march, just up the road. They were, doing the hard training bullshit. But we had packs on, and everyone was so tired that people were actually starting to nod off while they were walking. And you could tell if the guy in front of you was starting to like drift.
Mhm.
he'd start to kind of
Boom, knock
fall
him.
off in a direction, and
Mhm,
we would just push.
mhm,
Someone would push you back in the direction and keep you going in the straight line wherever we
mhm.
were going. And people were taking little 5-minute cat naps, just closing their eyes as they were walking. I mean,
Yeah.
that's tired. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's what civilian doesn't get. Being so damn tired that you can actually sleep and march at the same time, and your
Oh, yeah.
body will just keep doing it.
Well, people sleep and you can sleep standing up. When you can learn how to sleep standing up, sleep walking, marching, however you want to put it, whether it's just a standard walk or you're actually forced marched with a pack on. You can also fall asleep when driving. And then there's the other thing that happens with a lot of people. You zone out when you drive, and you start off in one city and you wake up. You not wake up, but you come to realization in another city. And you're
Yeah,
like, how the hell did I get here? It's just because your mind wandered someplace else, whether it was tired or whatever. But you're the other part of your brain is still working to keep you doing what you need to do to stay on the road, hopefully safely. But
yeah, I've
that's
done
some
that.
crazy stuff. Mitch says his most recent best wargaming experience, excuse me, was a 4-player Sword of Rome game in which I, as Greece, walked into an undefended Rome without rolling a die because of various actions by the other players. Nice.
Sword of Rome. Isn't that a
And Greece
GMT
won the
game?
game. Yes.
Believe so.
LBW
I
says,
have
speaking
not
of
played
Vassal,
that
I
one.
have mine open right now. What are you going to play, LBW? And Greg has got his Combat 2 Marathon Day. He's been working on the Vassal 2 or Combat 2 Vassal module.
Oh yeah, you got
And
combat too. How is that?
I have not played yet.
You haven't
I've
tried it
been
yet.
working on other stuff. No, I have been working on other stuff. And John says, I rolled so badly as Rome that the Volsci, however that's pronounced, I'm going to bastardize that. So correct me on that one. Occupied Rome. So I've never played that game.
I'll
Sword of
take
Rome.
that the occupation was a bad thing.
More than likely. But I'm not big into, although Roman games would attract me. I'm just not huge into ancients from the era. Just like I'm not really huge on ACW. I've become more interested in World War One with the like lamps are going out, attrition of souls, those games. What's the other one? Artillery Strikes. That one. Those games have started making me more interested in World War One because before I was like, nah, I need more movement. I need more action. I want East Front. I want big, huge, sweeping battles and lots of movement across vast amounts of terrain. Um, and the Pacific is the complete opposite. You've got these big, huge, sweeping battles in the East Front, and then you go to the Pacific, and you're like, can I move one hex?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you're playing
yeah.
those tactical battles.
So you're not into any of the great battles of history, any of that type
Mm-mm.
stuff?
Nope, never
Really?
played any of them. Just they
Oh,
never. Not that I don't. Not that I'm against them. It's just it's never really appealed to me because I'm not really. I like some of those historical eras. Like I love the samurai era, but I'm not sure if I'd want to play the games as much as I just like the historical period. I recently
oh,
got a couple of Age of Sail games, which is something I've been curious about messing around with. Um, because I like that era from the story perspective, like the Hornblower series and all that stuff, Master and Commander. But I've never played any of those games, and so now, like I got Flying Colors and I've got Captain C that I want to check out and play those.
Flying Colors is excellent. I got all the ones in that series really
Mhm,
good. Speaking of which, if you ever stumble across a game called War Galley, it's one of the great battles of history, and it's similar to
mhm,
Flying Colors, but it's triremes and
mhm.
those type ships.
Yeah.
If you ever see it, get it for me, and I'll pay you for it.
Okay.
I've wanted to get a copy of it, and I can't find a copy of it to save my butt now. But it's one of the few of the great battles of history that I don't have. But very similar to Flying Colors. I mean, obviously they don't have cannons or anything like that, but they do have like archery and
Sure.
ramming the enemy ships and all that cool stuff into it.
Mhm. Yeah. No, that would be cool. And there's Charles Latour joining us. He says, "Oh Lord, forgive me. I just bought some 28 millimeter Napoleonic figures. What have I done?" Another era that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people go nuts for is Napoleonics, and it's another era where I do have a couple of games in that thing in that era, but it's just not something I'm like, oh, I've got to grab that, Whereas East Front, I'm like, oh, I got to get that. Where it's World War III, I'm like, I'm buying it. If there's no, unless it's a terrible game, I'm gonna anything modern.
Napoleonics. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's a completely different type of war, right? Because that, you had guys lined up, standing up, volley firing at each other, cannon fire, that whole nine. That's not done in World War I, World War II, anything like that. I couldn't imagine being a soldier during that time frame.
It's crazy.
But the strategy for it completely different, because you have to worry about formations of troops, getting them in range, opening up fire at the right spot, flanking your enemy, all that good stuff. And you're only going to get 1 or 2 shots, and then you have to run in and do the whole bayonet stab them thing.
Stabby.
Yeah, stabby
boom,
time.
Boom, stabby.
No, I can.
I mean, it's interesting, but I think really where the interest in that would be more in the grand strategy of, okay, how am I going to maneuver my units into place?
Hold up, time out. Kick John. He's bad, John.
Bad John.
Scroll up a little bit. He's picking at me.
Which one was it?
You'll see him. He's got it capitalized.
Oh, I might be too far up. I was behind. Where is it? Where is it? John who?
John Sai.
Filipino. There we go. And you can't have it. All right, John, remember that. When you want something, he's like, hey, Mo, do you think it? No.
Sorry, you
no. But
go ahead.
I think it's the grand strategy of trying to maneuver your units into a position to do whatever you want to do, whatever your strategy is. Where it would get interesting would be getting the orders to those formations and trying to get them all to maneuver on time. That would be interesting, because then because you're dealing with messengers, you're not picking up a radio and talking to anybody. You're sending a runner or a rider down to give the order. And not all the time will they get there. They get shot, they'll get wounded, they'll get lost, things like that. So that is pretty cool. Plus then, okay, I've passed you the commander's intent, my intent. I want you to do this. Well, the commander that's down there, depending on his reliability and his backbone, it's like, he wants us to do what? To go that way? I'm going that way. It's a little safer. All those things play into it. And I think stuff like that would be fun. Again, it comes down to the chaos.
Yeah. In a game like that, I can see there being a reason for something like a command radius, right? There's obvious a reason for that, because shouting distance, or roughly a couple people shouting distance, if you got someone relaying it, that was your command range. So you got to be right there on top of somebody. But to have it in a modern game, we've got radios. You don't have to worry about that crap. Guy can be here, guy can be on the other side of the city. They can still coordinate. It's perfectly fine.
No, that's true. No, you can coordinate easier now with modern technology. However, it still comes down to the commander on the ground, because you may your company commander may issue the order, a battalion commander may issue an order down. Depending on the effectiveness of the order that comes down from your CO down to the platoon leaders, and then the platoon leaders in turn to the squad leaders, fire teams, things like that, it all gets broken down. You have the commander's intent on top, and then how it gets disseminated below that, and then how it gets carried out and executed at the lowest levels will really come down to how effective the overall strategy is. And I like if a game can model that friction in there.
Fields of Fire,
out of your control a little bit. Well, Fields of Fire I have yet to play, because that rulebook is just one of those things. I'm just like, I got so many things I don't want to have to spend time on the rulebook until it's corrected, and then I'll dig into it, because I do want to play that game.
Think about it this way, okay? When it comes to Fields of Fire, because you're right, that rulebook for both of them it's a slog. It is not easy, but I have to give it to him. He does a very good job when it comes to simulating the effect of how the chain of command works, how the order
Mm-hmm.
comes from up here and disseminates its way down. And basically, long and short of it, there's a lot of rules involved with this, but if you use your orders correctly, you get more of them. So
Yeah.
if your commander, you like your company commander, he can give an order to Private Schmuckatelli to go out and charge that hill, but he's only doing that once. Or he
Mm-hmm.
can disseminate his order down to his platoon commanders who can all spread their orders out underneath them so you can have everyone move forward and coordinate their actions together versus having one guy at the top trying to individually order the people. Does that make sense?
True. Yeah. No, it
So
does. It makes sense.
yeah, the game does a very good job showing how you want to spread your command down
Mm-hmm.
to the leaders and have them issue the orders rather than having one guy at the top try to control it. It's
Yeah.
just there's so many it's not even interlocking parts. It's just a friggin' slog to get through that rule book. It doesn't really
Yeah.
have concepts that connect to anything else.
Yeah. Which is
The
which is a shame, but it's also well, the shame was that it was the first edition that came out. It's like, okay, well, it's first edition. There's great ideas, and it wasn't developed. The rule book wasn't developed enough. The shame is the second one. It's like, okay, you had enough feedback on the first one, you should have corrected it and made it better. And apparently it was not. That's the one I got because I didn't get the first one. I only got the second one. And that was not primarily. It was because it was the Marines. Not that I have anything against the Army. It's just it was a Marine, so I'm going to gravitate to that because we don't have a lot of Marine games. We got plenty of Army games. We don't always get a lot of Marine games. So when I see one, I grab it. But hopefully they'll get that corrected because they're supposed to have that one under in the works right now. So hopefully they'll eventually get to that. And then when they do, then I'll start digging into it. I just don't want to spend the extra time trying to dissect a rule book that should be, in better shape because I got plenty of other things I need to do with my time. So I don't need to be digging into trying to, decode it basically. DCB says at its core, wargaming, whether miniatures or board games, is a social event and digital connections just don't measure up in person or measure up to in person. He agrees with you. Vassal is best for solo.
Yep.
But we're doing social stuff right now. You guys are part of the show. It's not just, me and Nate being two chuckleheads chatting. We are, but you guys are involved in it too. This is true. John already has my copy of Siege of Oregon. Remember we did that in the giveaways?
Oh, did he win?
The Line of Battle? Yeah, he won the copy of Siege of Oregon that I gave away. He got it all the way out in the Philippines. Line of Battle for trying to coordinate orders and timing. That sounds like it could be interesting. I will check that out. Grand Tactical level, Napoleonic Games is the best.
Yeah, Total War.
The absurd number of gamers who
The video
confine
game.
themselves to solo. That has nothing to do with Vassal. Well, it's not confining yourself to solo. It's a lot of times, Stegler, it's just your schedule. Maybe you don't have the time to be able to get out there or, meet with people. You can't always meet with people. So sometimes you don't game. I don't sometimes start a game till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when the house is quiet and I can sit down and not be hearing a TV in the background or, my wife saying, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to take the dogs out, do this, do that. And it's like, hey, it's 11 o'clock. It's quiet. Okay, now I can start a war game. Next thing you know is 12:30, 1:45. I got to go to bed. I got to get up at 5.
I don't get how your house can be that loud. You don't have a bunch of snot noses running around it. Mine's chaos until 8:30 at night.
Well,
I keep telling myself it's going to calm down.
Someday. Keep telling yourself that. Keep having kids. It's never going to quiet down. But it's my wife is always watching TV and it's right next to where I would be gaming. So it's I don't like hearing the TV when I'm trying to read a rule book and trying to think and take notes and stuff like that. So when I'm playing a game, so I want quiet. It helps me get into the game better. So if she's in the other room laying down watching TV in the bedroom, I'm like, okay, now it's quiet. But if she's on the TV in the room next to where I'm gaming and next to the dining room, it's like, okay, it's kind of tough to game. At least for me.
That set her up her own little nook in the garage or something. Put a little
Well, it's
black
going to
and
get
white
worse
TV
because
out
she
there.
wants to move.
She'll be
We're going
fine.
to be moving. We're going to be moving into a smaller house in a few months, and that's going to be, oh, that's going to be tough.
Still in Texas, or are you going somewhere else?
Oh yeah. Just moving to different town over. So,
Well, have fun with that move.
just trying
I
to
don't plan
catch
on
up on
doing
all
it
these
again.
comments. Yeah, I didn't want to do
No
it till I
time soon,
retired.
anyway.
I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it until I retired, and I don't have too much longer till that. But I don't want to be doing it now and then doing it within the next 5 years. It's like, oof. So it's going to be
I
twice.
thought people retired when they hit like 65, 70 years old.
They do. I'm retiring before that because I'm not 65, 70 years old, you son of a bitch.
Come on, I don't have many people I can pick on.
That's true.
I'm the old guy in my neighborhood. I have to pick on you.
Vassal's best for solo unless you're Stigler. And then LEW says he has a line of battle strategy or video series that will show me how it works. Awesome. So if you guys have not subscribed to his channel, go do so now. Total War Medieval was the best. Mo won't play line of battle because it's ACW. It's not that I won't play ACW. It's just that it doesn't excite me. Just like Napoleonics don't excite me. I could get into it. I would play it and see if it was interesting, but it's not my go-to. Mitch, you already have one of my go-to series, and that's Next War. But when it comes to ACW, it's not something that's good, which is kind of funny because this just mental thing here, I guess. Napoleonics don't excite me tremendously. ACW doesn't excite me tremendously. American Revolution definitely excites me. Very similar eras
because of who it is.
It's a subject matter too.
Yeah, like the ACW, it's all Americans fighting Americans, and it's on American soil. So, do you think that has something to do with not being overly interested in it?
Part of it, and I think the other part is just, I don't know, it just seems almost redundant. Like the history part of it intrigues me. The history part, it's amazing. Gaming it does not seem as exciting. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it other than some eras excite me more than others, and some, like West Front. Okay, not super excited about West Front. I'll play the games, but if I have my choice between East Front and West Front to choose a game to get one of either side, East Front wins every time. It's just the way it is. I just love the whole East Front versus West Front from a gaming perspective, not historical perspective. From a gaming perspective.
East Front is destined to lose, though.
What do you mean?
Always. Okay, so East Front.
So West Front is going to be the same thing.
No, not necessarily. West Front.
Germans are going to lose either way.
The Germans pushing in, trying to take Moscow, especially during Russian winter. It's never been done in the history of ever. Has an army actually successfully pushed into Russia and taken the capital. And the fact that he was kind of dumb, but West Front kind of affected what was going on with the East Front anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But East Front was kind of doomed to failure, right? They didn't have the right winterized equipment and clothing. I remember hearing stories, something about German soldiers dying while trying to use the crapper because they were like freezing and couldn't.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too, that at that point with the Germans on like 40, I think it was 41 or 42 in Glantz's book, in the first book on Stalingrad, he talks about how the German soldiers at that point, like in 42, they were rushed to the battlefield with a lot of times less than 2 months training. So talk about FNG. It's like, okay, here's your uniform. Okay, march like this and then shoot the gun. Okay, now you go. It's like, damn. And the veterans that were there that had gone through the better training and then had more training in the crucible of combat, they were much more likely to survive than these, raw recruits that were just basically thrown into the meat grinder because they were bodies. And that also plays into it too. So it's a pretty epic story, I think, on both sides. And it's the scope of it that I think is most intriguing for everybody. Just like a lot of people of North Africa, and I don't, not that I have anything against it. It seems like it's so narrow. the thing. I think it really comes down to the expanse for me, the scope of it. It's just so grand.
But that
I
was
think it's
part of the
cool.
problem.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
It was so big that it's almost impossible to cover that much of a front. Not to mention, if you focus fire any one section, then you leave your supply lines open to being interdicted and having yourself cut off. It's almost impossible to cover that much area. I think the only country during that time frame, right, looking at what they had, if would be America that could actually have pulled it off had they, been geared up in their war economy to be able to do it because they had the manpower and the equipment. Germany just didn't have the
The
ability to
Soviets did it
wage
though,
that level of war.
but the
The
Soviets did it
Soviets
the other way.
literally just threw meat in front of the guns until
Yeah,
they
but they
geared
also did it the
themselves
other
back
way. They
up.
beat them all the way back to Berlin. So I mean, it could be
Only
done. It
because of
was done by the Soviets.
Lend-Lease.
That was part of it. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't get assistance, but credit where credit's due. The Soviets fought like tooth and nail,
No,
and they
not saying they didn't.
beat them all
They
the way
had
back. Too.
picked up their factories, moved them deeper into the country, and then rebuilt them so they could start turning out the war again. But the meat had to stay there and hold the Germans until
Meat always does that.
they
That's
could
what
do
meat
it.
puppets do.
Yeah, but
So
they I just
go
don't
ahead.
think they could have done it, right? And the fact that he was trying to fight a two-front war,
Well,
trying to do
yeah.
the whole Battle of Britain during that bullshit, he let too much of his personal ego get in the way. Had he just left the East Front alone and just kept that little peace treaty he had, no way that Britain could have stood up against the full weight during that period of time. He could have taken out Britain. And had he taken Britain, subjugated them, and then turned and went after Russia, it might have been a different story.
So
I
Stigler
love it.
says if you
You're
don't
like,
have
shut
time
up.
to no, I wanted to get to Stigler's comment. He says, if you don't have time to find an opponent for face-to-face play or for vassal, you likely just don't have time to war game, and that's okay too. But gaming is social. I mean, I agree, but I would also say I have a hard disagreement on that because if you can't find a face-to-face person for vassal, you still have time to war game. Like I said, it depends on your schedule and your interests and your desire to play. And I have a very good social time when I play against myself because yes, I do argue with myself. But yeah, it is true. Wargaming is social, but at the same time, it's an intellectual exercise too that you can enjoy solo.
Do you ever find yourself narrating things? You know what I
In a
mean?
world,
Like you get so used to narrating what you're doing in front of yourself, you catch yourself talking to
I
yourself
talk to
about
myself
what
all
the
the
hell you're
time.
doing.
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, I gotta move these guys up this road. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. All right, and then I'll be like, I'll talk to myself the whole time. That's why I'll take notes too. Partially, I'll take notes for if I'm going to do video coverage. I obviously take notes, but I also take notes for general playing. A lot of times, I'll just write some notes down. Unless it's a short game, and then I'll just write thoughts. I won't write notes. I'll just write notes because sometimes I'll be like, okay, great, and then my wife will call me, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, what? And I go in, then I come back in, I'm like, the hell was I doing? Let me look at my notes. Oh, that's right, I moved those guys. Okay, good thing. Otherwise, I would have moved them again, and I'd be like, how the hell are they almost at the VP or the victory location already? So it is good to do notes. I think. And
I agree with John there, making sound effects.
Oh, sound effects. Yeah, I even do the fancy accents too. I like to do accents when I play.
Okay, can't do the German though.
I can do Germans and I can do the Soviets, the whole 9 yards. I just do it as a goof, for fun. And then now NATO is being reprinted, yes, and then we're talking about now we're getting into the fun stuff. People retiring. Charles retired at 63, is now at the young age of 67. Greg is retiring at 59 and a half. That's what I'm shooting for. And Mitch says, shucks, thanks. That okay, LOB leaves me flat too. So talking about how I said my go-to series is the next war series. War for America. I am definitely looking forward to that. Napoleonic Brigade series is similar to LOB, is a hoot. How is that a hoot, Mitch? What's the difference between the two and why you enjoy that more? Go ahead, you can talk.
I was just letting you finish out all the comments.
No, I'm just trying to get to the comments because I got way behind.
Now, this is making me think of the stuff that's coming up that I'm kind of excited about.
Mhm.
The Tank Ace, what is it? American Tank Ace, I think it is. Doubles
Yeah.
games. I can never remember the damn Susui-Con. Sensui-Con.
Sen Su
Sen.
E Con.
Yeah,
Sen Su Con.
Sensui-Con. Yeah, that one. And there's
It's
another
like
one
the
by
old
Compass.
Sesame Street. Sen Su E Con. Sen Su E
Compass,
Con.
they've got everything coming out. Compass has
Yeah.
just been on the ball, man.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get NATO at some point, but I
Order
still got.
order it now on the next reprint. Get it.
I'll have to do the pay later thing until I get done
Yeah,
dealing with
you
all
can
that
do that.
VA crap and get that taken care of.
Oh,
Because
that's still dragging down that BS.
I'm gonna have to get politicians involved.
Mm.
I told you it's getting political. They're pulling some bullshit.
What else is new?
That one guy I was telling you about, dude was amputee from a landmine, and they told him that they were dropping him because he walked his little girl to the mailbox. Yeah. Yeah.
When are we going to start jailing politicians for having insider trading rather than taking money from our veterans?
Not soon enough.
Don't even get me started on those bastards.
Yeah, not soon enough.
Yeah.
So with that going on, but I am looking forward to trying the Third World War. Now, is that 4 games?
Yes. 4 games in one, man. So people
can they be played together?
$150. It's a lot of money. It's like, yeah, it's 4 games for $150. It's like $37.50 a game. That's cheap when you think about it.
But is it 4 separate ones, or they all operate under the same rule set? So you learn one rule set, you can play them all.
Yes.
And can they interconnect?
Yes.
So can I set up like all?
I was waiting for that part. Yeah. Individual together. Boom.
And that should mean then I could set up however much of it I have room for then.
Exactly.
So if I want to set up 1 game, 2 games, 3 games.
You can play Arctic, you can play Germany, whatever, or you can say, I'm going to do the whole smash and set it up as long as you got space. And if you got space, you can, and you want to sit there and play Solitaire by yourself, because you can play a Solitaire game by yourself and have a good time, contrary to what Stigler thinks.
I think I can fit about 4 of those poster-sized maps on my one big table and make that work. So I might try to do a couple of them. Well, there's six maps in it. So a couple of the games would have to be just 1 map games then?
Yes. Yeah. There are some. Oh, well, I have not gotten my copy yet. I'm still waiting on my copy. So
yours hasn't come in yet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my copy yet.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It happens. Sometimes I get games sooner. Sometimes I get games later. I'm still waiting on Army Group Center. And what was the other one I got? Vietnam from GMT, because they're slow getting games out. They got a bunch of games they're trying to get through, and they haven't gotten their games out all yet either. So hopefully they'll get those out pretty soon.
Yeah, tell Bill get off his ass, get some shit going.
No,
you should have preferential
GMT.
Treatment.
No. Hey, games go out when they go out. I have no control over that. So NBS is a little more nuanced combat system. We'll have to check that out. We still waiting for War of America, dude. What are you talking about? Yeah, we're waiting for. You talking about War for America, John?
I'm not sure about that one. No, I was done bitching. Don't worry, I will come up with something else momentarily.
It's always fun when your cavalry sits on a hill overlooking the battlefield and won't accept your order to charge. See, now, in a game like that, where they won't accept the order to charge, can you turn your cannon to face them and tell them you will charge or else?
Well, come on. It's not like that stuff doesn't happen in real life. No, that stuff still happens today. When I was deployed overseas, years back, I remember there was a Army convoy, and it had, I think, some civilian contractors maybe, but I know it was an Army convoy, and they wanted them to push through a hot area, and they wanted them to do this transport, but it was fuel trucks. The main thing, it was fuel trucks, but it wasn't armored fuel trucks. It was just like a semi like you would see here with a big tanker on the back of it that they wanted him to drive through. And the truckers were like, no, I am not driving a big explosive through this area with no armor, no protection. It's not going to happen. Like the troops flat out said, no, we will not go. And they didn't, do that convoy until the area had been secured further. So they knew that they wouldn't be taking an RPG to a fuel truck and,
Yeah.
burning.
Well, that's where, a lot of people think that it's just you're a brain dead automaton when you're in the military. There are times where you just have to say, sir, this isn't a good idea. And there's times when, you have to be told, yeah, it may not be the best idea, but it is the idea that has to be done right now for various reasons. But taking a giant bomb and riding it through, multiple, and riding it through an area that is going to get hit with RPGs is dumb. So secure the area as best you can and then accept the risk after that. You don't go in there saying, okay, well, here, I've got this balloon that's filled with gas and I'm going to, bring it into a full-on candle factory where every candle's lit and walk around waving it. It's going to set the place on fire. So Mitch says GMT still wrapping up the European shipping. Gene just said today that they plan on having shipping done by the end of next week. So I guess that would be the European shipping, being that they're wrapping that up. So maybe another 2 weeks till they start US shipping.
Yeah, European shipping has gotten so bad here recently.
How
I can't
so?
remember some Kickstarter that I backed. It's coming from overseas, and I had to pay the shipping cost recently. And I wish they just paid the shipping cost way up front back when the Kickstarter launched, because it would be half what it is now. I think I had to pay something like $55 to have it shipped, and that's double what it usually is. It's just getting ridiculous.
It is.
I couldn't even imagine what it is to ship shit down to Australia now, or out there to John. If he were to pay for something to head out there to him.
Well, he does it cheaper because what he does is he has a mailing service.
Well, I know he's got his gimmick.
So you ship it to California. So it's the same concept for us, like an APO or an FPO. You just send it to the Fleet Post Office in California, and then they take it from there. So you're only paying to get it there. And then for his side, he's paying to get it the rest of the way, which is not too bad because he waits for a box of stuff and then they just ship it. So it's slow, but it's cheaper than paying, like you were talking about, just paying the extraordinary rates to ship stuff. So Tim says, I enjoy the coverage on Iron Armor. How complex do you guys think this will be for a new wargamer? How much experience do you have in wargames, Tim? Seriously, I'm not being facetious here. How much of a new wargamer are you? Because just because you're newer doesn't mean that you may not realize you may be into a little bit more complex games than you think you are. Just being new to war games does not necessarily mean that you're not into complex games. You don't grok them already. So just let us know how deep war games you've gotten into.
Yeah, I made that mistake when I first got into it.
Next week. Oh, all shipping done by end of next week. Nice. Newsletters due out Thursday, so I'm sure there'll be something in there. Okay, cool. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that. And then Captain Nolan, as I understand it, Iron Armor has a lot of steps to the sequence of play, but none of them seem to be overwhelming. Well, when it comes to Iron Armor, that's something that Bruce and I are going to be working on some videos for that, and it's going to be a little bit more involved than you may think. Looking at it, it's going to be ballpark. The rulebook should be around 110 pages, and contrary to NATO, where it was 87 pages because of a lot of verbose directions in the rules. Iron Armor is going to be verbose, but it's not going to have that. There was a lot of repetition in NATO, like this piece of information would be in this section. Then it would be reflected in this other section too, because it was tied into something else. Iron Armor is not going to be like that. It's going to be just all the meat and potatoes. So it's going to be a little bit different. The complexity is going to be up there. So it's not going to be super complex, but just understand when you get into it, it's going to be, there's more involvement. There's a lot more involved. So
he said that he just started combat and he's struggling a little bit with that. So use that as a gauge.
Combat's not a super I mean, you did a full series on it. It's not a super complex game, but it's also not a super easy game either. It's fairly simple to grok. It's going to sound contradictory because it is. What I'm saying is, it is definitely contradictory. It's not a super difficult game, but it's also not super easy. It's a little more involved. And what's your wife doing?
She's letting the dog out.
Oh, I thought. Oh, she's letting the dog out, or she's saying, "You're done. 5 minutes."
It's a little bit of both. She's letting the dog out. It's all right.
She's giving you the eye, the old stink eye.
No, just no stinky.
Is she right there?
Yeah. Like I said, she's letting the dog out. Hey, hon, you want to say hi? No, now she's giving me the stink eye.
Tell her I said hi.
I will.
I send her a hug.
She said hello and wishes you the best and all that good stuff. You don't want to be on camera? You look good. You look okay. She's like, no. She's got to have, makeup on and all that good stuff if she's going to get on camera.
So Mike says, I hope my G&T package comes when the wife is at work.
See, Mike, that's why you got to start a channel. That way you can say whatever you have coming in was sent to you by the publisher.
Bloat is the word you're looking for. Yes. No, that's true. What you do is you put you place the order with your name, your address, and then you have your channel name in there. Oh, they sent me this big giant box of stuff. Really? Why is your credit card bill higher this month? Oh, I don't know.
I always tell her, "Oh, this is a Kickstarter I backed way back when. It's coming in. I paid for this a year ago. Don't worry about it. We're good."
So LBW says, got to run, got to go do some gaming, can't game and talk here at the same time. Thanks for your service, Mo and Gimpy. Hats off to you. Thank you. Enjoy yourself, LBW. Hope you have a good game session tonight. And then Tim says, thanks. That helps. Gimpy's gal guesses the correct angle of upside Nate's head.
Yeah.
I think she already knows that. It's muscle memory at this point. So Captain Nolan ordered Aaron Armour and NATO as his first Compass Games. Watched a couple of interviews of Bruce and a playthrough of Aaron Armour, and it looks great to me. So you watched the Compass show with John, and where Bruce and Fred played through Aaron Armour, and some of the interviews he's already done talking about Aaron Armour, which I think are pretty interesting and will give you good insight into the game, because Bruce is a great interview and he really is excellent at getting across the point about the game. So glad that those helped and you made your purchases, and you're not going to be you're definitely not making a bad choice with either or both games, and I would strongly recommend both.
Now there is a better choice. Not hating on those games, I'm sure they're perfectly fine. But when it comes to a first Compass game, Enemy Action Ardennes.
Oh yeah, no, that's goes without saying. I mean, that's a great game, great designer, but different subject matter. World War II, modern. So,
yes, World War III. Wholly different. But as far as like solitaire gaming, wargaming, there's very few that are to that level. I think that one's just bar none one of the tops.
Well, the other, that's another one too that I've had to explain to people. Sometimes people say, "Wow, that's a lot of money for that game," because it's not a cheap game. It's expensive. And, we've already talked. Compass has already explained too. Printing in the United States is not cheap, so their costs go up. On top of that, you have to remember you're getting 3 separate games in that box. You're getting a German solo, an American solo, and a 2-player game. And no, that's easy. No, it's not. You're getting 3 maps, 3 rule books. So you're literally getting 3 separate games. So that also adds to it. So again, it comes down to ballpark it at about $40 something, $42 or something like that a game for the 3 games. So yeah,
now,
it makes
sense.
To
be fair, even if you're not looking for the competitive aspect, it's at least 2 games. You know, American solo, German solo. So even if you divide it that way, you're looking at 60 each.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting value in the box is the point. You're getting the 3 separate games. Whether you want to play 2 of them or all 3 is up to you, but you're definitely getting 3 games in the box. Just like Third World War, you're getting 4 games in the box. So I think that's something that can kind of get overlooked, is the value of the game in the box. And I think that's just one of those things that people do. It's just an oversight for whatever reason. People won't think of that.
No, I mean, I do the same thing with video games. If I'm looking at a game that I'm planning on buying, I want to get at least an hour worth of entertainment for every dollar I spend. You know, the as
Mhm,
that's my rough estimate, when it comes
mhm.
to a video game. And if I don't get at least that, if it's a $10 game, I should be able to play it for at least 10 hours and
Sure.
then I'm good. War games a little bit different. Lighter fare games still can cost more depending on components, so it that it's harder. I would say more like $5 an hour is the way
Yeah,
I
I
kind of
mean,
look at it.
and the other thing too that if the other good things about war games is generally they tend to hold value. So if for some reason, okay, I played this game, I'm not going to play it anymore, you're going to get most of your money back. So it's not like with a Euro game, you buy a $50 Euro game and you use it up 6 months later. It's like, okay, I'm going to sell it. I'll give you $10 for it. Really? You give me 25? No, it's worth about 5 or 10. It's like they devalue because they do such high print runs. It's almost like buying a car. It just
Yeah.
devalues the minute you buy it. And it's just like, oh, whereas a war game, smaller print runs and higher demand, people will come in, miss a print run, and then it's done. It's not getting reprinted or whatever, or it might not get reprinted for a year. Somebody wants it now. Well, you can sell it and get your money back. You're
What
not going to
whoa,
worry
whoa.
about it too much.
What's the name of that game? The British and the Falklands real big solitaire game.
Where there's
Uh
Discord.
where there's Discord.
Mhm.
That game has turned kind of into an investment, right? So if you have a copy of that game, you can
I
sell it
do.
for more than
Mhm.
it's worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So depending on the game, it can end up actually going up in value,
Oh yeah.
especially if it turns into a rare little gem, something like that, that it's harder to come by, or
Well, I
maybe
told you
something like
I'm
Case Blue.
looking to retire within the next 5 years, and that's why those 60 cases of shrink wrap case blue are going to come in handy.
Yeah. You could retire on that one, man.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, I could just slowly trickle them out at $400 a pop. I maybe even go higher, go up to $700. See if anybody buys, and they buy it, and then they kind of come down a little bit. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm not into war game speculation, but it does show you that you're not going to take a devastating loss. You're not going to spend $80, $100 on a game and then sell it for $20.
Yeah,
Some of them
you
might
can get
be if
most
they're a
of it.
stinker, but you're going to get at least half, if not more, back, which is good.
Yeah, see, miniature games don't even hold their value like that.
No,
They have
no, the
more.
miniatures will, but the rule books may not.
It depends on the game. If it's I'm thinking something like Gloomhaven, a game that
Mhm.
comes with the miniatures. Depending on the game, if it doesn't sell all that well, then the miniatures are pretty much useless. So something that could have a lot of stuff in it becomes essentially worthless. It
Well,
just depends on its popularity.
Mike Anthony. That's a great point. Some niche Euro games are hard to find and fetch high collector prices. There was a game that I bought, and then I just saw it. A friend of mine just saw it. They texted me, "Hey, is this game any good?" And I was like, "Dude, give me a couple copies of that." It was the Thing Outpost 51 or whatever that was, the last outpost. Or I forget the full title of that game. Bought that a few years ago when it was impossible to find, and I literally got it for a song, and I knew that it was a very hot, ticket on the market. So I ended up buying it for a song and flipping it for 150 bucks.
Not
So,
bad.
because I knew that it was just like he said, that was a game that everybody wanted. And I was like, I can take this and flip it. I'll buy it and I'll flip it, which I did. And then I went and bought war games with it, with that money. So it was actually good. So where there is Discord is $289. Not going to sell my copy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game I would love to have, but I'm not spending that kind of money on a game. It's just not going to happen.
Well, no, Stigler says games might hold value, but they don't appreciate. Some people think they're dealing with rare coins or stamps with games, and that's silly. I agree. It's not like we're speculating, and I'm going to buy 4 copies of 1985 Under an Iron Sky, and I'm going to wait 5 years, and then they're going to be worth $5,000 each. No, that's not going to be the way it
No.
works. But if you decide to sell the game, you have to sell it for, say, you're either moving on from that era of gaming, or you don't want to play that game anymore, or you're forced to, you have to move and you have to downsize your collection. You're not going to take a bath when you sell the games, is the point, is what I was going on, compared to like Euros. You're going to take a bath on those because they're a dime a dozen, whereas a war game will hold a decent value. So that's what I was going at. Some of them will fetch a premium, but
But I'll tell you, there's a company out there that if you want something that's rarer, harder to find, they generally have it, but they are going to make you pay through the nose to get it.
mhm,
And that just it drives me nuts. I hate seeing games that, I would love to get to my table, but they don't even have it listed at a reasonably exorbitant price. So like 300, 400, depending on the game. We're
yeah,
talking they want $500, $600 for it. And it's like, dude,
mhm,
no. You know, uh, I'm not going to name them just in case, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. I saw a card pack, just a card pack. I think this had 14 cards in it total, right? And
mhm.
it's just a small expansion for a little Warhammer card game. And they had it listed for something like $95.
Well,
$95.
it's capitalism, man. I'm going to
No
charge you
one,
$95. Are you going to be foolish enough to spend it?
no one's going to buy it for that price. All their prices are through the roof.
Yeah,
They're exorbitant as hell.
then they go on a sale and they sell it for $89 or $74 or something, and people, oh, it's on sale because
Now, yeah,
they've had everybody conditioned to $95. Now it's on sale for 65. Oh, that's a great deal. I'm buying it now before it goes back up. It's
no,
sales is all it's all psychology, man.
I
It
got
really comes
burned by
down
him
to.
one time, and it really put a sour taste in my mouth. There was a
Mm,
Grail game that was on eBay that I was bidding on, and it was between me and this other buyer, and he ended up bidding me out of it. And to be fair, it is capitalism. He
mhm,
outbid me, but what bothered me is I had checked that site right beforehand,
mhm.
and they didn't have it. Few weeks later, after the game had been shipped, they've got that exact game listed after
Mm,
they beat me on eBay for it, but now they're trying to flip it for 2.5 times what it was
sure.
sold for on eBay. And I'm like, someone could be enjoying that. That someone could be me, but you're a dick. I get it. It, it
Capitalism,
just
man.
that's the thing. I
That's
get the
capitalism.
purpose behind it. I just hate it when I'm the one that gets burned by it. You know what I mean?
We all do. We all do. But that's just the way it goes. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But when it comes to, I've never bought it. Wait, I think I might have bought one thing from them. But from what I understand, a lot of people go there because they'll have something you're looking for. More often than not, they'll have something you're looking for, but you'll pay for it. And that's,
Yeah.
I'm like, if I want something that bad, I can either wait and catch it on the market, or I'll just ask around and say, hey, if anybody's looking to sell a copy of this, let me know, because it's not time critical. I can wait 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, so until someone wants to sell one. And, you get the feelers out there, you let everybody know, hey, I'm looking for a copy of this. And then people say, oh, yeah, I know someone who's looking for a copy of that. And then word gets back to you and they say, yeah, how much you want for it? Oh, that's a fair price. Yeah, I'll pay it. Or, nah, that's too much for me, or whatever, But uh, squad leader and shrink, how much for squad leader and shrink?
Oh, the
Depends on
original
which,
squad
yeah,
leader.
depends on what you want to, where you're going, what site. Starship Trooper, nice. Now, Rob says he used to flip PC computer war games like that 25 years ago. Bought them at a local used bookstore for $5, sell them on eBay for as much as $100. That's crazy. Now you can get them all on abandonware sites, which is true.
Yeah, a lot of them are hard to find.
That's very true. You have to do your homework. Buyer beware. You just have to. I mean, that's on you. That really is. It's on all of us. What is your? It's on all of us to know the price, the value of a game. Roughly the ballpark of it, and then on top of that, how much is the value to you? The game may technically be worth $50, but you really want it. You'll pay 75, and you can. So you pay the 75, and that's what they're looking to capitalize on that. So everyone has different levels of where they're going to go, what they're willing to spend.
See, I told you people knew exactly who I was talking about.
Oh, I knew
I
right
know
away too.
I did buy one game from them that actually ended up panning out in my favor, and I paid it was reasonable. it cost a fair bit more, like 20%, not 500%.
Hmm.
And got the game, did my little review on it, and then down the line, the publisher ended up contacting me because I was one of the few guys here in the States who was actually covering the game,
Hmm.
and he ended up sending me some more copies of it, updated copies and things like that to cover because
Nice.
he liked the original review that I had done. I was like, all
Hmm.
right, that ended up working out
Cool.
in my favor.
Yeah, no, that's good. And the bottom line is we're all in it together. As far as helping out publishers get word out about their games and gamers understanding games and getting each other's sites getting recognition. So that way people subscribe, and the more voices we have out there, the better the content gets. The more content there is out there, the better the content gets, because you're getting more things covered. Just like today, we've got a number of publishers, and they're all covering different areas, and they're digging into areas that maybe 30 years ago wouldn't. No, we're not going to touch a game on that, or we don't care about it. We want to make Gettysburg, Bulge, Stalingrad, the big games. We're going to keep pushing games out like that. But now you got different subjects that are covered by publishers, and different areas of gaming that's covered by different content creators. And it's just, I think right now we're in a really fantastic time for wargaming. It is just amazing. And it is most amazing right now for anybody who's into modern hypothetical World War III. It is just an amazing time for that. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like every other game that comes out is World War III.
And I like it.
I'm okay with it. I'm good with it.
I think
I
it's a
like it, but
glorious time.
it's not the best.
Jester's in the house. He says you have to weigh how much you want the game, and that determines how much you will pay. If you want it bad enough, then you'll pay more. Yep, exactly.
Purple for 18,000. What the hell is he talking about?
What?
They said purple for 18,000 on BGG. Maybe that's a
Not sure.
mistype. Maybe 180 is what he's talking about.
Thing is this: SSI PC games come with colorful and elaborate rulebooks, maps, and other stuff. Purple for 18. Who's selling a game for 18 grand?
Mm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't play too much of the old SSI stuff. I did play Final Liberation a lot when I was
Nice.
a kid. You remember that, the Warhammer game? We used to play the hell out of that. It was a strategy game, it's the hex and counter type stuff, but it was the
On a
epic
computer,
level.
or was it on
Computer.
console? I don't
No,
remember
computer.
that one.
You had the Titans, the infantry troops, tanks, Lehman Russes. It was orcs versus Space Marines.
Oh,
Well,
that's
Space
why.
Marines and National Guard, or
That's
not
why.
National Guard, Imperial Guard.
Space Orcs versus National Guard. What the hell kind of game are you
Yeah,
playing, man?
that would have gone badly for the National Guard. No, they've got a modern day version of that now, actually on Steam.
Okay.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah, no,
So
I've
you don't
not.
have to pay the exorbitant prices.
No, I've not. I've not played that one. Yes, this is a good question. When are we going to see Whiskey Charlie versus the War Room in Armageddon, Battle for Armageddon? Something we've been talking about. Just unfortunately, scheduling has been tough for me. Let's see, April. I got about 6-7 weeks left until the end of hockey season, because I'm not sure if the team is going to make playoffs this year, so we don't know what's going to go on with that. But that has taken up a lot of my time, because the team was on the road for a while, and then they're back. Now they're back on the road, and they'll be back at home. And when they're back at home, that's when I'm working the broadcast. When they're on the road, I don't. But so it's interesting this time of year how busy things do get. But we are going to get that going, and we're going to have to do that during the day, I think, because Ruff is in the UK. So we're going to have to figure out a Saturday or Sunday where we can all get together and play. You paying attention, Nate, or you just?
I'm looking up something for one of the commenters. I've almost found. Okay, here it is. Rob. It was called Final Liberation back in the day, but the one you want to look for now is Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon on Steam. So check that out. Might be something you're interested in.
Nice.
Sorry, I couldn't remember the exact name of the new one, so I was looking it up for him real quick.
And then any more bolt action?
In the future, Flames of War is actually going to be covered before bolt action, since I already have some bolt action stuff up. and I'm going to be working on getting Flames of War painted and possibly printed and all that stuff. Thanks to Nick helping me out in that regard. They actually
Outstanding.
do have a new starter set that looks like it just released for Flames of War for Kasserine Pass. So
Hmm,
it's the
nice.
Germans versus Americans. They've got a bunch of Shermans, the M3 Lee, some Stuart tanks, and then the Germans have a handful of Panzer threes and Panzer fours and some anti-tank guns, but no infantry come with that one. So I'm debating on that one versus the Hit the Beach one, which has fewer tanks but infantry bases included with it. So I'm not sure which way I'm going to go yet.
Nice. And like Jester says here, trying to get 6 guys all to have a free day and schedule is going to be tough, but we'll work on it for sure. No, we're definitely going to do it. I think it will be a blast of a time to get all of us together talking trash. And it's not even going to be Whiskey Charlie versus the War Room because it is 6-player free for all for the most part. Because yeah, you can ally with each other, but you're also gonna hey man, I'm your friend, stab in the back, and drop a nuke on them. That's what's going to be so much fun about that game, and I think it's going
Oh,
to be pretty cool. It's like, oh yeah, screw me, well screw you. I'm going to drop a nuke on you, take out 50,000 of your people, things like that. You getting a stink eye again?
yeah,
Well,
yeah. we got to call it.
yeah, no, I mean, well, we were getting ready to wrap it up here. I was just trying to see if there was anybody else to get, and then Lance is going, I didn't work on that module for nothing. No, we definitely are going to get that in there, but we will figure out when we're going to be able to do that. Because like I said, 6 players, we got to get 6 people together, and one of them is in the UK, which also gets taken into account. Hey, what's going on? We got our
Hi.
new co-host. Hi, how you doing?
I'm 7 years old.
You're 7 years old.
Yeah.
When do you turn 8? When's your birthday?
November 23rd, 24 November 23rd.
I thought he was going to say November 23rd and 24th. He's going to try to squeeze 2 birthdays out of that. I was like, you're training him right.
Yeah.
That's greatness.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. That's great.
All right.
I love it.
Go.
I love it. I love it. I seriously thought he was going to say November 23rd and 24th. I was like, are you
Yeah.
turning it into a birthday or a convention?
He was trying to remember 14. 11, 23,
greatness.
14.
Yeah, no, that's great. He's so cute. Give him a birthday present right now. Yeah, I agree. That's going to be great. So there we go. Only one for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. Oh, that's greatness. But yeah, so we're going to wrap it up here because we are coming up on 2 hours and we've had a really good chat. And we talked about some rules and about player aids and things that we're working on, gaming right now and what we got going on in the future. And then we kind of just diverged into a whole bunch of other subjects as well. But really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight and joining us in the show and adding your comments and your questions here. That's what this is all about, having this good interaction between us. And Nate, what do you got coming up on your channel soon?
Just a lot of 1985 Sacred Oil. I've got actually a prototype coming from David Thompson here soon, the Maquis
Nice.
game.
Mhm.
So that's a cool one. That'll be a few weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks before that's videoed and up and everything. But he's got a Kickstarter that's going to be launching for that. And Core Space. I know not everyone's into it, but I love Core Space, so I'm going to be covering it.
Mm.
I've got the newest version of that, the Kickstarter delivered, and I'm almost done painting those guys. So I'll be covering that. And then also, thanks to Nick, probably some Solitaire Wings of Glory as well.
Nice. And
And
your channel is the Gimpy Gamer.
yes.
If you go to my channel, you can see at the bottom I have some recommendations and he's right there. So, or you just do a search for the Gimpy Gamer.
Very
So
gimpy.
there you go. But again, appreciate you guys tuning in. The next thing that'll be on my channel is Learn to Play for the Conquistadors that we did last week. So that'll be up on the channel here hopefully tomorrow. And I've got to get through the last things tonight on it, then re-render it and upload it. And we should be done with that. And then everyone will be able to enjoy that. And then I may even throw something a little different in the channel. I've got it. I've just not posted it up yet. I did record a couple of sessions of sniper contracts too. So I may throw that up there this week, at least one of them, which was just me screwing around, shooting some stuff, ghosting some
I saw
guys
you
and-
playing that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's brainless fun. I had a good time with it. So I shot 2 videos, and I'll probably post the first one up this week, and then the second one, which is better in my opinion, because I end up setting up this. I'm so smart. I'm gonna, take this dude out. So I set up all this stuff behind me, to kill all the bad guys that are going to come in. I'm like, I'm going to get hammered on this. I know this. I set out gas traps. I set out booby traps, everything. Well, these guys all got hosed, and then I killed them, and then the traps killed them as well. And then as I go to run to the exfil area, I set off one of the booby traps and kill myself, which was just a great finish to the mission. So much
Well
fun.
laid plan, man. Well laid plan.
Exactly. But once again, guys, really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a great night, everyone.